Good morning. Here we are, day 7. Can you believe it? We're just clicking right along. So here we are talking about judging others. Yay! What a fun topic. so um, let's just dive in. Let's just get going. And the question, well, let's the verse. The verse is Matthew 7:5. You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And the journal prompt is, what plank is in the way of you judging others? Who are you knocking down as you are trying to remove their speck? Pray and ask God to reveal it. So let me talk about how this came about. Years ago, when I was writing the book, Retrain Your Brain, I was reading this verse and God gave me this like perfect visual of this verse. And I don't know if y'all remember like the Three Stooges, and they would do this bit, and it was usually Curly. He would have like a ladder or a long plank of wood, and he would be holding it, and others would be standing around, and as he turned, he was knocking people out, and he just didn't even realize that that's what he was doing. That was the bit. That was the funny. And they've used that, of course, over and over in other movies. You've seen it where you know they have something in their arm and they turn and they knock the person over. So that's what God showed me with this verse. Here we are with this huge plank in our eye, and we're so busy trying to get the speck out of somebody else's eye that we are literally just knocking people over. And what happens is, because this is about judgment, is you're saying things to people and you're literally taking them out emotionally. And you have no idea, because you're so blinded by your plank. This is where God truly wants us to look within and be like, you got to get rid of your plank. What sometimes we walk around and that plank can represent so many different things. And I remember one of my big things with grief is, I know when I have reached my limit of being like around people when I start just cussing. And when I start dropping just any cuss word like consistently, it's like, whoa, it's like I need to just step away, because what I'm doing is I'm walking around and I'm hurting people because I'm hurting and I'm not processing it and I'm not realizing it. And that's when I got to step back. And the other thing for me is to I can talk very fluent sarcasm. And when you can, and I know a lot of people are the same way, when you start all of those, because so many times you have that quick wit in your head and you're like, oh, I could have burn, but you don't vocalize it because it's wrong, it's mean, it's ugly. And when I just start letting those things kind of fly and just repeatedly, and sure, they can get some laughs here and there, oh, that was a good one. But in reality, it's because I'm hurting, and it's almost like I want other people to hurt with me without realizing that's what I'm doing. It's like, I don't want to hurt alone. So I'm just going to go around and hurt other people. So that way they're hurting too, even though they have no idea what's going on inside. And so we inadvertently do that. And I'm sure you can think of, like, even when you're out and about shopping, sometimes the clerks, can maybe be a little rude, but they've been dealing with rude people all day long, and so they're hurting. and sadly sometimes they take it out on us, but we don't have to reciprocate the hurt. We can extend grace and mercy and kindness. And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it completely changes the atmosphere and it helps them as well. Because they've been hearing yucky stuff all day long. So the fact that you took the time to speak kindness, even though they may have said something that was completely unwarranted. And so I think that's a lot of what this verse is saying. It's like so many times we carry around these emotional hurts and pains and everything else that we are inadvertently knocking over people because we're hurting. And they don't know that, because you got to think about it. They're also walking around with a plank. And when they look at you, your plank is a speck. So all of us are walking around with these major things that can block our view. Because if you have a plank coming out your eye, it's blocking your view. It's like a blind spot. And you know, it's a blind spot. That means we don't see it. And so others see it and acknowledge it. But if we're in a space of not listening, then we can't do anything about it. And what areas in your life do you have these big planks or blind spots that you just keep carrying around over and over and over again? And maybe people have pointed it out to you before. Maybe even God has revealed things to you, but you are in such a, it could be stubbornness, it could be pride, ego, like you don't want to let it go. You want to almost, you want to justify it. You want to justify why you have it. And sometimes when we have a deep hurt, like everyone has at least one, at least a deep hurt, a true, like, painful thing that somebody did something to them. But if you carry that around and you justify it, then you're just adding more and more planks. And the more planks you have, the more blind spots you have, and the more you're just knocking people down emotionally, mentally, and everything else. And then you're pushing everyone away, because nobody can get close to you, because every time they get close, you knock them down with your plank. Just get that mental image. Think about that. You can't get close. You can't hug someone who has planks coming out their eyes. You can't, especially if you got them too. There's just no way. And so God is wanting us to, like, get rid of those hurts, those things we're carrying around. Because I go back to thinking, like I just mentioned the justification. You guys, Jesus, he didn't do anything wrong. Ever. Not even a little bit. Not even an itty bitty tiny sin. He did nothing wrong. He's perfect. And he went on trial. And he was beaten. And he didn't once justify himself. And he had every right to stand up, to say the things. And he didn't. And so why is it we think we can continually hold on and justify to our hurts? Now, there are times when things happen to you that you were truly just a victim. Absolutely. But Jesus was a victim, and he didn't justify himself. He chose to forgive and to step on the cross. And as hard as it may be, God wants you to have freedom from that pain, from that hurt. So that way you can take out your plank. you can remove the blind spot and you can walk in freedom. And you can get close to people and people can get close to you because you're not knocking them down anymore. And that is a big, big, big thing in forgiveness as well. Sometimes you got to forgive the hard people. And then after you do that, you're probably going to have to take some time to forgive yourself. And God He loves you so, so much that He's already forgiven you. He already paid the ultimate price for you. So go ahead and pull out the plank. And sometimes we got more than one. I know I've had more than one. And it just seems like once I pull one out, I'm like, oh, look, there's another one. Yay. And so don't beat yourself up. Just don't. It's all good. God loves you. So take some time to sit in this and just be like, okay, God. And a lot of times when we are so busy looking at someone's speck, it might be because we have the same issue. If someone just irritates you so much and their actions, their words, just, like maybe there's a coworker that the way they act and the things that they say just really, really bug you and they just constantly rub you wrong. It may be because you're kind of similar. I mean, I know that happens a lot when we have kids, that we see the personality, our personality, the especially the icky pieces of our personality, and our kids, they're like us. Oh, imagine that. And they act like us. I wonder how they get there. And we're like, oh, that's so ugly. And it's like, oh, where are they learning it? Oh yeah, that's right. That's me. I remember one time I was driving. I had to take my younger son to a dermatologist, and it was like an hour drive. And the older, they are 4 years apart. And so the older one was about 5. And we're sitting between 4 and 5. And we were in the doctor's office, and we were doing something, and he cussed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot believe he just said that, because I'm immediately embarrassed. Like, oh my God, this is my kid. This isn't me. He got that from his dad, all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, where did he learn that? I can't believe this. Like, just, reeling in my head. I'm like, just like looking at him like, oh, you can't say those things. And everything. And, we get in the car and we're driving, and I go to merge onto the highway, and there were cars and fast, and somebody, they weren't letting me in. You got your blinker on, you're trying to do all the things, and I said the exact same phrase that my son had just said 30 minutes earlier in the doctor's office. Word for word, it came out of my mouth, and I was like, oh, huh, yeah, he learned that from me. That was me. That was not my husband. It was not his dad. It was me. It was a real humbling experience. And granted, I didn't say anything. I didn't call my husband and be like, what are you doing? I told him later, the story of it. It was like, oh yeah, that's me. That was me. So many times we don't realize that it's us. We're the ones, not them, but us. So take some time to figure out what that is. Take some time. I had to pull that plank. I had to pull and be like, oh, yep, I got to fix that. If I don't want my son saying these phrases, then I probably shouldn't be saying those phrases either. So I encourage you, just have some fun with this one. no, again, no judgment, no judgment on you pulling out your judgment. So just look at it that way. Okay. So enjoy. I can't wait to hear what your planks are. And yeah, have a great day and forgive yourself, forgive others. Let's pull out our planks and let's just keep living for Jesus. Have a good day.